Okay, now we're going to look at how to create an orthographic drawing. This one is going to include an inclined plane, and it's also going to include places where we have hidden contours behind the front surface. So we're going to call those hidden lines. First thing we're going to do is click into a construction layer. So I'm going to use red, and we're going to now box out our shape for the object that we're drawing. So we're going to be drawing this object over here on the side. And first thing we're going to do is draw our top view box. So we're looking right here and it shows us that we have 60 units as our depth. So if we're starting in the top left-hand corner, we're going to go down now 60 units. And then we're going to come across the total length of our object. So that's going to be 110. And then again our 60, and then bring it back. So just to be clear, we're doing a front view, we're doing a side view, and we're doing a top view. So front is looking right at this space. We're going to do a right side view looking over here, and then our top looking down. So we just did our box for our top view. Now we're going to go and do a box for our front view as though we're standing right here looking at the object. So first thing we want to do is create a space between our objects. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start out with 30 units as our space. You could use your offset tool there as well. I just did a line to create that space. And now our length of our object, which should be the same in our front view as it is in our top view. So that's that 110 units length. And now we're looking at our front view, so we need the height for this box. So that shows that it's going to be 60 units. So let's go and draw our 60 unit box height. We're going to come across here and create the other side of our box. Okay. Now we're going to go and do the box for our side view. So I'm going to do the same spacing. We're going to do 30 units again. And we're now going to create our box for our side view. So our dimensions for this are 60 by 60. So we'll go 60 by 60. And now we've got our boxes created. I'm going to snap a miter line on this because it's probably going to come in handy on this job. Make sure again you're going up at a 45-degree angle when you draw that miter line, and just extend it past your side view and your top view. The length isn't really important. Okay, now it's time to start drawing our object. Let's start by drawing our front view. That's where I'm going to choose to start. I'm going to click into a 0 layer. We're going to treat that as our object layer. And I know that if I start in this bottom left-hand corner, I've got an idea on where we can go. So if I'm going to go up to the top, and then I'm going to come across now our distance of 40 to get that top piece right there. So we'll go over 40 units. And now we know that from that point up at the top of our box over 40, we should be able to snap down to the bottom corner of our box. So if I click right down there, you can see that the line length is a very odd number, not something that we know. We don't know that line length, but we know the points at the two ends of that line. So we're going to snap that there and then draw this line coming across. Now what I'm going to do is come up from the bottom, and I'm just going to do an extension coming up here to my first little shelf layer right there, which we can see that these are 20 units each. So we're going to go up 20 and then shoot across, and we'll do another one coming up 20 and shoot that across till it intersects with that point. Now this is going to be really useful because in this drawing, if we tried to do our top first, we would have troubles finding the location of this line. However, in our front view, we know that we figured out the angle of this plane. We know the height of this line, so we can just get that intersection point where those two meet up with each other. Okay, let's go now and use some of this information to, we need to finish this little slot down here. I almost forgot about that. That's 30 units over. It's a 20 unit slot that's 10 units up. So I'm going to come across here. I'm going to go 30 units on an extension. And we're going to go up 10, come across 20, and then bring it down until it intersects. And then I'm just going to use my trim tool and trim out this section right here. And now we have our opening for that slot that runs down below there. Okay, next up we can go to, let's say, our side view. So on our side view, we're now looking at the right side. And actually, if you were to draw this as a right side or left side view, it wouldn't really look any different, because looking at an inclined plane in a two-dimensional view would look the same as a surface that wasn't on an incline. Okay, so let's start out by drawing our line cutting across the bottom. We can go all the way up to the top. And now it shows us here that our steps are going to be 20 units over, 20 units down, 20 over, 20 down, 20 over. So we can just kind of create that shape now, going 20 over, and then we go 20 down. And if I want, as I snap down to my length, I can confirm it by clicking across here, doing an extension. That shows 20, that's good. And then we can just snap that down, just like that. Okay, now we've got the surface created here. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about how to express this once we get our top view done. Let's go back up to our top view. Okay, so this is kind of the fun one in this drawing. Let's start drawing shapes that we know where they are. So we know that if we start in this top corner, that this line is going to come all the way across. We're going to have object, if we're looking down on it, all the way to that corner. So we would see a straight line coming all the way across here, just like that. We would see a line coming, if we're looking straight down, all the way across there. So if we go from this top corner, we're going to have a line coming all the way down, just like that. And we would have a line coming all the way across the bottom here and all the way across that edge there. So we have all of our outside borders from our top view. Now it's just finding locations for this shelf. Okay, so using this front view, we can take some vital information here, because in our top view, we can't figure out what the length of this line right here is. We know the top one. We know the top one's 40. So we could draw that one in and extend over 40 units and come down 20 and across. So that one's nice and easy. But to get our next length here is going to be a little bit trickier. So to do that, we're going to use this front view. You could also use, I guess you could use your side view. Our front view is going to be our important one here. So we're going to flip over to another construction layer. I'm going to go to yellow. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to this point right here, and I'm going to shoot a line straight up through there. And then I'm going to do another one right to there. And what that's going to do is that's going to represent this intersection point between this flat shelf and that angled plane. Okay, now let's use our zero layer and we can create this object. So now we're going to go down from this point. Just going to hover over. We're going to extend down 20 units. We're going to come until we intersect with this line right here. And then we can bring it up like that to create that shape that we would see, which then is the shelf right here. Now we're going to need our next shelf, which we can see is going to go right here. And it's just going to be an intersection of those lines right there. Okay, now if we turn these construction lines off, again, don't delete construction lines, keep those around, just turn the light bulb off. You might come back to use them later. And now we have what our top view would look like. We have what our side and what our front view would look like. The one thing that we're missing in this drawing is something called hidden lines. So anytime we have contours that are in behind our surface that we're drawing, we still want to express those. If we drew them as the same line type as the lines that are part of our object on the surface, it would be hard to differentiate them and tell what the object looked like. So instead, we're going to use a new layer, and this layer is called a hidden line layer. So if we go into our layers, the template has them selected as a green line just to be able to differentiate between them. And basically what this is going to look like is, if we look at this top view, we're seeing that we have a slot that runs all the way through, basically two lines coming right through here. Now, to express that, we're going to show that as two lines that run all the way through, but they're going to be drawn in a hidden layer, so we know that they aren't on the surface, they're in behind that front surface. So all I'm going to do is hover over top of here. I'm going to do an extension off of here, and then do a hidden line that goes straight up from there. We can do the same thing for the other corner of our slot, just like this, and send it right there. And we can see right now that these lines, if we zoom in, are a dotted line. We're going to scale those up a little bit so you can really see that they're dotted. If you're zoomed out a little bit, they actually look solid. So we're going to adjust that. Now, in our front view, we wouldn't have any hidden lines if we're drawing it from the front. If we were drawing it from the back side, then we would see these little shelves as hidden lines. But on the front side, we can see them as object lines. If we go over to our side view, we will have this slot cutting all the way through in behind our surface that we're drawing. So we want to express that. So we can see that 10 units up is the top edge of that slot. The bottom edge is down here, which is actually falling over top of an object line. So we never want to draw a hidden line on top of an existing object line. So we wouldn't draw this bottom edge here. We're just going to draw the top edge of this slot. So I'm going to hover over this corner here. We're going to extend across to this point right here, and that slot runs all the way through just like that. Okay, now that we have our hidden lines drawn, we're going to go in and adjust the properties of them. So in order to adjust line properties, if you click on your line and then right click and go down to properties, now you get your properties table that pops up here. So what I'm going to do is group all these lines, these hidden lines together. And then what we can do is go to our line type scale and we can increase that. So I'm just going to try a scale of 10, see how that looks. Oh, it didn't let me in that menu. Try that again. Select all the lines, go into the line type scale, and we're going to select 10. And now if we hit escape, don't select the lines, now you can definitely see that these lines are dotted. No question about it. All right, then all you have to do is dimension this object and it is completed.